T.I.'s son, King. King Harris has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected.
Trying to coddle him for. Let the man walk off, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he need to do.
Yeah, so him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12. So, you know, it just, he
King Harris never imagined his bold lifestyle and tough talk would land him in a situation where the walls were closing in. And for the first time in his young life, he had no control over what came next. The son of rap legend T.I., King has always lived under the spotlight, with cameras watching his every move and critics waiting for him to slip up. But while the outside world may have known him as the flashy, hot-tempered kid who seemed determined to prove his independence, the story unfolding behind bars was far darker and more dangerous than anything his fans, or even his own family, expected. It all started like any other case of a celebrity child brushing up against the law. King had a reputation for pushing boundaries, getting into fights, and talking back to authority figures. Many assumed that with his father's name and money behind him, the worst that could happen was a slap on the wrist. But this time was different. The charges stuck. The judge wasn't in the mood to play games. And suddenly King Harris found himself locked up. No longer the Prince of Atlanta, but just another young man trying to survive in an environment where weakness was exploited and reputations were tested daily. From the very first moment King walked into that cold, steel environment, he carried himself like he always had on the outside. Chin up, chest out, unafraid of anyone. But what he didn't realize was that the jailhouse was a completely different battlefield. Out here, reputation wasn't built on who your father was or how many followers you had online. It was built on survival, respect, and alliances. And King's bravado immediately caught the attention of inmates who saw him as both a target and an opportunity. At first, King thought he could handle it. He mouthed off, cracked jokes, and even tried to show he wasn't scared by standing toe-to-toe with people who had nothing to lose. But every word, every smirk, every attempt at dominance was being watched closely by men who had been living in this harsh environment for years. And to them, King wasn't just another inmate, he was leverage. The son of T.I., a young kid with money on the outside, fame attached to his name, and a family that would do anything to keep him safe. That made him valuable, but it also made him a liability. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, King started to feel the shift. The laughs weren't real. The nods from older inmates weren't friendly. They were sizing him up, waiting for the perfect moment to pull him into their world. He started being offered protection, but protection in jail never comes free. When you accept help, you owe something in return, and in King's case, the price wasn't just money. It was loyalty, allegiances, and once you choose sides, there's no turning back. One night, things took a sharp turn. A simple disagreement over food in the cafeteria escalated into something much bigger. King, still trying to hold on to his tough guy image, refused to back down from someone twice his size. Voices rose, fists clenched, and before King could process what was happening, he realized he had walked right into the center of a brewing storm. The wrong words left his mouth, and suddenly he wasn't just another inmate. He was a marked one. The whispers spread quickly. King Harris had disrespected the wrong people, and inside those walls, disrespect is never taken lightly. By the next morning, he could feel the tension. People stopped looking him in the eye, conversations stopped when he walked into a room, and the men who once pretended to be his friends now stood at a distance, watching, waiting. He wasn't safe anymore, and deep down, he knew it. For the first time, the weight of his decisions pressed down on him. The bravado slipped, and the reality of his situation sank in. He was young, inexperienced, and now facing enemies who thrived on fear. That was the moment King realized he couldn't handle it alone. That was the moment he picked up the phone and made the hardest call of his life, to his father. When T.I. answered, he expected another defiant rant, or maybe a cocky update about how King was holding it down. But instead, what he heard broke him. His son's voice was trembling, stripped of ego, stripped of pride. King begged for help, his words spilling out quickly, desperate, almost incoherent at times. He confessed that he had messed with the wrong people, that he felt unsafe, that he feared for his life. For a father like T.I., a man who had built his career on strength and resilience, hearing his son so broken and terrified hit deeper than anything he could describe. The call left T.I. torn apart. Anger bubbled inside him. Anger at his son for making reckless choices. Anger at the system for putting him in this situation. And anger at himself for not being able to shield him from the pain. But beneath that anger was heartbreak. This wasn't just about celebrity gossip or public perception. This was his child, his blood, crying out for help in a place where help doesn't come easy. Tiny King's mother was shattered when she found out. She had always been more protective, more emotional when it came to her kids, and the idea of her son being in genuine danger was too much to bear. She pushed T.I. to act, to find a way to pull King out of the fire before it consumed him. But T.I. knew that any decision he made carried heavy consequences. Step in too hard and it might make King more of a target. Step back and his son could pay the price for his mistakes. The rest of the Harris family was caught in the storm too. Siblings were heartbroken, extended family members whispered in fear, and fans across social media erupted with theories and debates. Some showed sympathy, saying no young man deserves to feel unsafe in jail. Others were brutal, claiming King's actions had finally caught up with him, and that he needed to face the consequences. Behind the scenes, T.I. wrestled with his options. He had money, power, and connections, but inside those walls, none of that mattered as much as timing. He could try to get King moved, maybe into protective custody, but that came with its own dangers. Being labeled a snitch or weak could destroy whatever fragile reputation King still had. Or he could call in favors, try to get him out altogether, but that would risk making the situation even messier with the law. Every move felt like a gamble, and the stakes were his son's life. Meanwhile, King continued to spiral emotionally. Nights were the hardest. He couldn't sleep, haunted by the possibility that someone would make a move against him when the lights went out. Every noise, every shuffle, every shadow felt like a threat. The once loud, once proud young man was now paranoid, desperate, and clinging to any shred of hope that his father would come through. The irony of it all wasn't lost on anyone. For years, King had tried to prove that he didn't need T.I.'s help, that he was his own man, ready to take on the world with no handouts. But in this moment of crisis, with everything on the line, the only person he could turn to was the father he had spent so much time rebelling against. The power dynamic shifted. The tough act was gone, and what remained was a son reaching out for his father's protection, no matter the cost. As news of King's situation leaked into the media, the story exploded. Headlines painted vivid pictures of a fallen celebrity child begging for salvation, while talk shows debated whether T.I. should step in or let his son learn the hard way. Fans dissected every rumor, every leaked detail, speculating about what exactly King had gotten himself into and whether he would make it out alive. The public pressure only added to T.I.'s torment. Every move he made was being watched, every silence interpreted as indifference, every word analyzed for hidden meaning. But behind closed doors, he wasn't a superstar or a rap legend. He was just a father sitting awake at night, listening to the echoes of his son's broken voice on the phone, wondering how much longer he could hold on. The situation escalated further when whispers of an imminent attack reached King. Other inmates warned him quietly, telling him to watch his back, that the people he had crossed weren't planning to let it slide. That news sent him spiraling into full-blown panic. He broke down again on the phone, sobbing, begging his father to do something, anything, before it was too late. By this point, the Harris household was consumed by fear. Tiny broke down in tears regularly, unable to hide her anxiety. T.I. paced the floors, talking to lawyers, making calls, considering every angle. The family dinners grew silent, each member lost in their thoughts, praying for King's safety while bracing for the worst. As the days dragged on, the uncertainty weighed heavily. Would T.I. step in with all his might, or would he force King to stand on his own? Would King make it out unscathed, or would this chapter leave scars too deep to heal? What happens next remains the most pressing question. A son's cry for help has shattered the image of a confident young man, exposing the vulnerability beneath. A father's struggle has revealed the impossible balance between love and tough lessons. And a family that once seemed larger than life is now facing a battle that could change everything forever. Because in the end, this isn't just about King Harris messing with the wrong people. It's about survival, about choices, and about the unbreakable bond between a father and son tested under the harshest light. And as the world watches, one thing is certain: nothing for the Harris family will ever be the same again.